will be on this console together. Without much ado, there are a set of chairs that are actually up front here. The primary reason is not that the people who sit up here are more important than any other person. It's just that so that the whole hall will be filled both from the front down to the floor and behind. So I'm saying this just in case I don't call your name to come forward so you don't feel that you're not important. No, you are equally as important as the event of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request to come forward the one who pilots the affairs of the School of Law and Security Studies, Babcock University, the Provost and the Dean, Professor Dorcas A. Odunaike. Please make her feel welcome. I want to beg you to please make her feel welcome. She's an iron woman. And by iron, I mean a goal getter. Thank you so much, ma. We're glad that you are here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, also here in our midst is the Dean School of Law of Adeleke University, who will be the book presenter for today. Join me to make welcome Dr. Kingsley Ono. Please make him feel welcome. I was just comparing notes to be sure that I'm on the right track. Ladies and gentlemen, the one who will serve as the chairman of today's event. And by that, I need you to understand that every chair here is under his control. In any dimension you want to think of what the chair looks like. He serves Babcock University as the Vice President, Financial Administration, and the University Bossa. Make welcome Dr. Folorunsho Akonde. He's the chairman. Oh, please make him feel welcome. What you may not understand is that even the chair that you are seated on is owned by him today. So if you don't, because of the unique nature of today's event, I didn't consult anyone, nor the chairman. The chair, sir, I know you didn't come here alone. You didn't come here alone. If you don't mind, can the wife of the chairman be the co-chairman with the chairman? Please make the wife of the chairman feel welcome. There's a reason, and you will see the reason later. Please make the wife of the chairman feel welcome. You know, the book will be presented. And if the chairman had planned something, if the co-chair now joins the chairman, then it will be double chairs and a co-in to come to our aid. Please make the co-chairman's chairman welcome. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. Here also in our midst, ladies and gentlemen, is the President Vice Chancellor of Babcock University. He's also here. And I'll be bringing him forward. But shortly before he comes, I will want to make welcome to come forward Professor Deji Olariwaju, who has served this college as the past provost. Please make Professor Olariwaju welcome. He currently serves as the president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. You're welcome, sir. I also have here in our midst, ladies and gentlemen, the Senior Vice President, Academics, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, Babcock University, Professor Philemon Amanzi. Please make him feel welcome. Prof, sir, I want the front chair to be full, but if you insist on where you are, I can also oblige you. So please, can you rise so that they can even know who I am talking about, sir? Please. Thank you very much. You're welcome, sir. I've received a password, and I will use it very well. Ladies and gentlemen, as I did mention earlier, the President Vice Chancellor of Babcock University is here in our midst, in person of Professor Ademola S. Tayo. Please make Professor Ademola Tayo welcome. I want the applaud to continue until he is seated. I know those who are clapping. No? I know. You know, the good thing is I know everybody here by name. So if you don't clap, I will just call your name and then you will come. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your kind applaud. Thank you. The Vice Chancellor didn't drive into this event alone. And the First Lady is here. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome the Director of RIC, but today in her capacity as both the Director of RIC and the wife of the President, Vice Chancellor of Babcock University. Join me to make welcome Professor Grace Tayo. That applaud is for you to please come forward. Please come forward. Usher, please draw nearer until she finds encouragement to join you. Thank you, thank you. That person who has been clapping, may God bless you. Those who refuse to clap, may the Lord touch your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be calling forward. The event of today is put together by the School of Law and Security Studies. And it is a presentation of a book in honor of an erudite scholar in the School of Law. His stewardship, his mentorship, his scholarship still speaks volume in the length and breadth of both the School of Law and Security Studies and in the minds that he has sharpened over the years. Today, he is not here with us in person, but his scholarship and what he has put down is still with us in very clarity. In our midst today, in the honor of this book presentation, is the wife of the late Professor Yinka Olomojobi, Dr. Folake Olomojobi. Please make her feel welcome. May I request the usher to please go to her and we'll bring you forward. Please let the applaud continue until because she will not comply, I know. Please come, ma. Please, come forward. Please. You know, you're the only one whom I have seen clap. And Professor Kimboye, you have also clapped. I've seen that. Thank you. I will pause at this juncture, and I will request that we will collectively rise and we will take the Nigeria's national anthem. And then thereafter, we will take the Babcock University anthem. After that, I will request the university pastor for an opening prayer. Let us rise as we take the national anthem. Nigeria, we hail thee. Babcock University anthem. Hail Babcock, God's own university, built on the power of His word. Knowledge and truth, service to God and man, building a future for the youth. Holistic education, the vision is still affluent, metaphysical, social, spiritual. Babcock is in. Hail Babcock, God's own university. Good life here and forevermore. As we remain standing, I will invite Pastor Professor Ife Ehohai, the university pastor, for the opening prayer.
Almighty and ever-living Father, we thank you for this gathering this afternoon. We give glory and honor to your name because you said it in your word that in all things we should glorify your name. We should praise your name. We should give thanks unto you. Therefore, this afternoon, even as we gather for this occasion of the book presentation, in honor of our late brother, Professor Yinka Olomojobi, We pray that everything that is going to happen here this afternoon, we bring honor to your name. We thank you for some of your servants who are here, who have traveled from far distance to be here. We thank you for the journey mercies you granted them. And by the time we are done, you also see them back to their destinations. We pray that we will witness and experience your presence here in everything we do here today. Thank you, Lord, for hearing us. For we are prayed in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Please, you may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, as the event rolls on, we have a number of our guests who are making their way in. In no order of importance or preference, in our midst we have deans of the respective schools within Babcock University. And I will want to request that all our deans who are here, please can you wave wherever you are. Thank you so very much for being here. We pray that your presence here will also be a blessing to you and to all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I will, before the welcome address, will be inviting forward the chord, who will come forward to bless us with a song. The chord, please.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Oh, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. All right. As we are gathered here on this memorable and solemn occasion,
Amen.
We are here to do this song. It's a request, actually, about how do I put it now? About results or consequences of the actions we take today, tomorrow. So whatever we do today, we should put into consideration that we have to give account. Yes, accountability. That we have to give account to somebody who is not within our control, to somebody who is stronger than us. Therefore, we have to live right today. Be blessed as you listen.
And when he told Alpha so came, told them why you don't worry. ṣó ti gbàgbé pọ́lọ́run mi òun máa lárinú ròde ẹ̀dá. Gbogbo iṣẹ́ ibi tí o bá ṣe tó rò kọ́ máa ráyè torí ẹ̀. Ọlọ́run mi ń rí ẹ̀ tó bá rántí àti sùn rẹ̀ ọmọ ènìyàn. Ọmọ ènìyàn. Yẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ọwọ́ rẹ̀ wò. Yẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ọwọ́ rẹ̀ wò. Ènìyàn. Rántí àti sùn. Rántí àti sùn rẹ̀. Ọmọ ènìyàn. Yẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ọwọ́ rẹ̀ wò. Yẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ọwọ́ rẹ̀ wò. Ènìyàn. Rántí àti sùn rẹ̀. Ó fàyè rẹ̀ fún Jésù tán, ó tún gba ayé rẹ̀ padà. Ó dára, onígbàgbọ́ la mọ̀ ọ́ sí, ó dẹ̀ ṣe wá lórí gbàgbé. Ó lè gbìn gbàdó kó kálá, ó lè ṣe burúkú gbàre. Ìdájọ́ Ọlọ́run ni màdé tán, ó bá rántí àti sùn rẹ̀ ọmọ ènìyàn. Ọmọ ènìyàn yẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ọwọ́ rẹ̀ wò. Ènìyàn rántí àti sùn rẹ̀. Ọmọ ènìyàn. Ọmọ ènìyàn. Rántí àti sùn rẹ̀. Ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ pátápátá la ó yẹ̀ wò mélédùn àbádé. Bó jẹ́ rere bó jẹ́ búburú ṣàmáṣe lọ ṣòǹgbọ́ mi. Jésù padà wọ̀ bó pẹ́ bóyá láti ṣe dáadáa.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure your applause can be louder than that. Thank you very much. It got to my knowledge that in our midst we have the Associate Vice President in charge of Works and Physical Planning, Babcock University, Professor Ezekiel Adeniro. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for being here. Earlier on, I'd also recognized the Associate Vice President, Spiritual Life, who doubles as the University Pastor, Professor Ife. Sir, we're glad that you are here. Thank you very much. The Associate Vice President also in charge of institutional effectiveness, Professor Sisi Nwosu is also here. Ma, thank you for your presence here. I also have in our midst the acting provost of the College of Postgraduate Studies, Professor Shokumbi. Sir, you're welcome. Thank you. The Dean of the School of Computing is also here, Professor Adebayo. Sir, you're welcome. Thank you. The Dean of the School of Veronica Adeleke School of Social Science, Professor Gift Ntuonka. Ma, thank you for being here. We're glad. the Dean, School of Public and Allied Health, Professor Dora Akinboye. Ma, thank you. For those of you who don't even know, that is my Dean. That is why she even smiled. Others didn't smile towards me. They smiled at you, but she smiled to me. So please make Professor Akinboye feel welcome. Thank you, my Dean. I also have here in our midst the Dean of the School of Education and Humanities, Professor Olubumi Idowu. Ma, thank you very much for being here. I also noticed the presence of the HOD of Music, Dr. Jola. Sir, you're welcome. Dr. Adewumi, the HOD of Political Science. Ma, we're glad that you are here. Thank you so very much. Without much ado, I will be inviting sometimes when you are used to something, you take it for granted. My own provost is here with every iota of humility. My provost, please, I won't do it again. The provost of Benjamin Kassim College of Health and Medical Sciences here, Professor John Shotunsa. Please, sir, count this action for righteousness' sake. Thank you, sir. The director of Bukodel is also here. She is Professor Omobolanle Shotunsa. Ma, wherever you are, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be inviting for the welcome address of the day the Provost and Dean, School of Law and Security Studies, Professor Dorcas A. Odunaike. Please make her welcome.
Thank you very much. We have an unfinished business, so I'll just hand over the mic to the VC to do this for me.
Thank you very much. You all agree with me that this ITV is not yet completed. And by virtue of the power conferred on me as the Vice Chancellor of this institution, I want to invite to the ITV the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics. Let's give him a round of applause as he approaches the table. Yes, please. Thank you. We have one more chair, and I want to invite the junior brother of our distinguished professor. Interestingly, it's a family with all lawyers. The dad, the mom, all the four children, they were all lawyers. I think you should be in the Guinness Book of Record. So I want to invite lawyer DJ Olomojobi to come forward and take your seat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You know, I don't have the power to send my VC on errand, but he's my pastor. Thank you, sir. I'm grateful, sir. Good morning, everybody. I want to warmly welcome you to this program. We want to thank God for the grace that He has given to us. Let me do protocols before going straight to the real thing. My President Vice Chancellor, Professor Hademola Stephen Tayo, and his amiable wife, Professor Grace Tayo. The chairman of the occasion, Professor Folorunsho Ilesanmi Akonde, and his amiable wife, thank you very much. The book presenter, the Dean of Law, Adeleke University, Dr. Kingsley Ono, thank you for coming all the way from Adeleke University. My predecessor in office, my Oga Patapata, and the current president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of the thing that influenced me. I was looking at both of you, Professor Deji Olarewaju, a good role model, a good mentor, a leader par excellence. Thank you for making time out of your tight schedule to be here with me this morning. I always value your support. Thank you so much. We have here with me my SVP Academics, Professor Philemon Amanzi, my Augusta. Thank you, sir. A very humble man, a child of God. Thank you, sir, for always accepting us as we are. all protocols duly observed. I have so many deans here. I have the provost here, the acting provost of the PG College, but I cannot but acknowledge the family of Professor Yinka Olomojobi. I have here with me Dr. Folake Olomojobi, the head of service, Ekiti State. Ma, we appreciate you. I also have here, seated close to Dr. Olomojobi, my own brother, Deji Olomojobi. Thank you so much. Omotora, Tolami, and Temi. I tried. It looked like the names sounded alike. Thank you very much for taking time off work to be here with us today. This occasion wouldn't have been possible without the efforts of the lead editor, and I must acknowledge her, Professor Ayoyemi Lawal Arowolo. She ought to be on the high table with me, but she said, no, be there, ma, just go and sit down there. I will be working at the background. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. I want to warmly welcome everyone present here this morning. My heads of department, I acknowledge you. My faculty, my staff, my students. This all will have been filled to the brim if this program is scheduled for the week, but this has to happen on a Sunday due to circumstances beyond our control. Yet, we are here this morning to celebrate an icon, an avid researcher, a living legend, whose life is testamentary. You know what we call testament in law? His life speaks even after death. His work lives on. When Professor Yinka Olomojobi passed on unexpectedly, all his works were ready. Exam question, marking guide, even his inaugural lecture. Meaning that he's always working. I'm sure you can relate with the song that the chord sang for us. Yinka is always working, as if he has no time. There is no time, no time. And that reminds me of the song, Walk, for the night is coming, when no man can walk again. My brother walked. Nobody knew he would die so soon. But it happens. And his works, we have it all over us, all around us, in our library, in the life of students that he has mentored, in the lives of students that he has taught with his compassionate heart. There is something my students said. They said, no one can fail his course because all it takes is just a push and then you are there. And so they are encouraged to be the best at what they do. Today, we are happy that you are here to celebrate with us Professor Yinka Olomojobi. Part A of this publication is in unpublished inaugural lecture, undelivered inaugural lecture, which after this book presentation is already a published work. That is the best we can do for him, because he did not put all that down to be put under the table. He didn't pen it down for people not to read, but for the whole world to see what he has done. And we felt the best we can do as a school is to get this on your table. Thank you, because you are here to get a copy of that book. And we're sure by the time you go through it, you're going to learn not to live till tomorrow, what you can do today. He intends to publish it himself, but here we are celebrating him and doing this on his behalf. We want to thank God for the life he lived. Very diligent in his work. Somebody asked me, how did you mark his script? I said, it's as if he has this feeling that there is no time any longer. So he submitted his exam question with his marking guide. And so it was easy for us to do conference marking on his behalf. I want to bless God for our late brother. He's not dead, he's alive in our hearts. We have all his books, his contribution to knowledge in our library, and this will be an addition to what he has done while on earth. If you don't learn anything from what is happening here today, I want you to learn to be diligent in all that you do, because there is no time anymore. Nobody knows when the end will come. Only God knows. But if you can just do what you have to do, the Bible says you should do whatever you have to do with all your might, because there is no wisdom, no knowledge, no repentance in the grave where we are going. Today, we celebrate a living legend, and I want to appreciate you for coming to celebrate him with us. I want to warmly welcome everyone to this book presentation. Thank you for coming, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dorcas Odunaike. The Vice Chancellor, sir, I know you might already know this, but I will re-echo it for emphasis sake. Within the family of Professor Yinka Olomojobi are 2 Babcock alumni, and we are glad that from that family, Babcock still lives on. And we hope that more will come from subsequent generations. If you are glad that the family of the Olomojobis are here, please, may you please put your hands together for them. Thank you very much. I will also want to recognize the Vice Chairman alongside of NBA Ekpe. I have here Mr. Tako Koko. Please forgive me for not pronouncing that name appropriately. Koko MNI, if you are here, sir, please can we recognize? Thank you very much for being here. We also have Anthony Sidi alongside with him. Thank you very much. We're glad that you are here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be inviting forward for the special opening remarks by our chief host, the President Vice Chancellor, Babcock University, Professor Ademola S. Tayo. Please make him feel welcome.
The chairman of the occasion of today, Dr. Folorunsho Akande, and the amiable wife, the survivor of our distinguished Professor Yinka Olomojobi, the wife who doubles as the head of service of Ekiti State, Dr. Folake Olomojobi, the children, of which 2 are medical doctors, graduate of Babcock University, and the last one also warming up to be part of Babcock family, the siblings of our dear Professor Yinka Olomojobi, represented by Barrister Jide Olomojobi, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Professor Philemon Amanze, the book presenter, Dean School of Law, Adeleke University, Dr. Kingsley Onu, the Provost of the School of Law and Security Studies, Professor Dorcas Odunaike, the immediate past Provost and the President of Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, who work closely with our dear Professor Yinka Olomojobi, that's Professor Deji Olanrewaju, the other members of the School of Law and Security Studies, Provost and Deans, Associate Officers of the University present here today, the members of the Nigeria Bar Association, particularly Ekpe branch, of which Professor Yinka Olomojobi was an active member, members of the Busa Babcock University Student Association, and the Lawson, they are students of Babcock and Adeleke University, our online viewers, other esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Babcock University, I welcome every one of you to this solemn event. It is with great reverence and a deep sense of loss that we gather together today to celebrate the life and legacy of our beloved Professor Yinka Olomojobi. Though he may be gone, his indelible mark on our institution, our lives, and the academic community continues to inspire and motivate us. Professor Olomojobi was more than just an academic. He was a mentor, and we soon hear from some of the students that he mentored. A leader and a shining example of excellence. His passion for knowledge, his love for teaching, and his dedication to the advancement of his field were contagious and left a lasting impact on everyone he encountered. Professor Yinka Olomojobi will forever remain in our memories. He was a visionary academician who advanced international law in his lifetime. He was a passionate and committed educationist. This achievement will never be forgotten in a hurry. I remember just weeks before his death, he booked an appointment and he came to my office. And he said, I want to have my inaugural lecture. And I said, you have my blessing. Little did we know that that will never come to pass. But I want to thank God because today what seems to be lost is recovered, because that inaugural lecture is now in print. Professor Olomojobi was remarkable and full of energy, and his contributions to the body of knowledge in human rights law will remain enduring. He was a model of diligence who made a great difference in the life of a lot of his students and peers. The great number of people whose lives he touched in remarkable ways, we never forget the valuable lessons he taught them. His enthusiasm for the defense of women's rights was legendary and inspiring. His remarkable and dynamic spirit will remain indelible in our hearts. I wish to specially thank the Provost of the School of Law and Security Studies, Professor Dorcas Odunaike, and colleagues in this School of Law and Security Studies for this thoughtful initiative, which is in the form of a legacy essays in honor of the memory of Professor Yinka Olomojobi. There is no other initiative that can surpass such an enduring legacy, because we all know Professor Yinka Olomojobi for publishing, writing, and writing. And I'm sure if we were to be alive today, what we are doing today will delight him so much. Let me also salute the editors for the good job done. I've gotten a copy of the book, and I can attest to the very, very good and wonderful work done by the contributors and the editors on the book titled Human Rights, Intellectual Property, the Environment, and Arbitration from Nigeria to the Global. I have no doubt in my mind that the reading public stands to gain a lot from this book, because the book is not only apt not only contemporary, but very, very relevant, and points all to the determination to make a difference in the area of human rights, intellectual property, the environment, and arbitration at the national and global stage. As we present this book in his memory, we not only honor his remarkable achievements, but also his enduring spirit. We remember his unwavering commitment to scholarship, his generosity in sharing his expertise, and his unrelenting pursuit of excellence. And now to the aged mother, Honorable Justice Rebecca Olomojobi, the dear wife, Dr. Folake Olomojobi, children and siblings, and other family members of our departed colleague. On behalf of the University, I offer our sincerest condolences. Your loss is our loss, and we share in your grief. However, we also celebrate the remarkable life he lived and the legacy he leaves behind. In conclusion, as we perform this book presentation, we reaffirm our commitment to the values that Professor Yinka Olomojobi embodied, which is academic excellence, integrity, and a passion for learning. May this book serve as a testament to his enduring influence, and may it inspire future generations of scholars and leaders. Thank you for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, our applause can be louder than that. That was the voice of the President Vice Chancellor, Babcock University, Professor Ademola S. Tayo. Thank you very much, sir, for your warm remarks to this august audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be inviting forward also the chairman of today's event, who will come forward for his remarks. The chair, sir.
Kindly permit me to stand on existing protocol that has been thoroughly established by my VC. But within the protocol, I just have to establish my own personal protocol because of professionalism. I want to salute the President, Vice Chancellor, Professor Ademola Tayo, and their maybe wife, and then my president of the institute, the 23rd president and chairman of council of Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, Professor Paul Solariwaju. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when I was first contacted for this role, I tried to situate it within this setting, given that the author was my cousin and a very close family member from all fronts. The dad, late Uncle Sakios, was a brother to my mother-in-law, who is named Olomojobi. Yinka's mom is also my auntie from my paternal grandmother's side from Odowa Ekiti. But aside from just natural relationship, the Akande Orioke dynasty from Ipote Ekiti, the mom, the late dad, and all his siblings have been deeply, actively interactive in family activities for decades, and even impactful in our career journeys. Incidentally, too, the senior sister to my auntie Honorable Justice Rebecca Olomojobi, was also married to my maternal late uncle Ademoyewa. In fact, the whole family lines are so closely intertwined. Therefore, when I was contacted, I had the feeling that this very close family affinity is simply being brought to the fore. It is therefore a great honor and a deep emotional privilege for me to stand before you today in this capacity as we gather to celebrate the posthumous launch of this remarkable book, Human Rights, Intellectual Property, the Environment and Arbitration, from Nigeria to the Global. Legal essays in honor of the memory of Professor Yinka Olomojobi, our dearly missed husband, teacher, legal luminary, and prolific author. On behalf of the family, I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you who has taken time to join us for this touching but memorable occasion. It has been generally said that books have the power to inform, inspire, and ignite change. Books are openings into the minds of the authors and a reflection of our shared humanity. This book is a compilation of his drafted inaugural lecture and legal essays of legal scholars he impacted while yet living to honor him. It's therefore a testament to this power and stands as a legacy of Professor Yinka Olomojobi's brilliance, creativity, and writing skills and passion. The book draws our attention to an area or topic, human rights, that evokes complex and multifaceted perceptions in the society. Having written extensively on the issue of human rights, it could be safe to tag Professor Yinka Olomojobi as a human rights activist. His posture, mannerism, and disposition when he was alive probably attested to this. While human rights activists are celebrated by many for their dedication to justice, freedom, and equality, they oftentimes also face criticisms or mistrust from those who feel threatened by their work or who have conflicting interests or different perspectives, especially the powers that be and authorities. What probably made Professor Yinka Olomojobi more controversial was the coverage of his scholarly writings. Operating within a faith-based environment and widening the latitude of his writings to cover virtually different faith persuasions, as summarily reflected in the inaugural lecture he prepared, but unfortunately unable to deliver. He gave a suspect posture of him, which only eternity may reveal. But what stood out succinctly in his lifetime was a personality who was focused, hardworking, a doting father. I recall several times he would come visit the daughter in the hostel, and they would be in the car for hours. You know, fathers generally are very close to their daughters, and some are mothers to their sons. I don't know why it's so. But was a prolific writer, distinguished legal luminary in the academia, who was well positioned to assume the highest level of engagement in the legal space in our world. Today, we are celebrating not just the release of a book in his honor, but the persevering spirit of Professor Yinka Olomojobi. Though he is no longer with us, his works live on. And surely we continue to touch lives and spark imagination. This book is a lasting reminder of his contributions to knowledge and scholarship, the lifelong impact on his mentees, and the indelible mark he left on us, on all of us. At this junction, I wish to express my deepest gratitude to the family, both immediate and extended. The wife, Sister Folake, Tara, Tolami, and Temi. Colleagues, friends, editors, Professor Ayemi Lawa Arowolo, Professor Dokas Odnaike, and this acknowledgement was also well established by the President, Vice Chancellor. The publishers for working to time, and everyone who played a part in bringing this book project to completion. Your relentless efforts have ensured that Professor Yinka Olomojobi's voice, his legacy, and life of impact, his vision are all documented for prosperity. I also want to thank the University Administration, led by the President, Vice Chancellor, Professor Ademola Estayo, for all the support during and after the unfortunate incident. I recall the VC mobilizing everybody to take care of all the logistics and protocols that we needed to put in place at that very point in time. I want to thank you very much, sir. We pray especially for Mama, Honorable Justice Olomojobi, the wife, the children, the siblings, Jide, Tinuke, and Deji, and indeed all of us, that God will continue to be the foundation of our consolation and comfort on the traumatic and unfortunate sudden departure of Brother Yinka. As we turn the pages of this book, let us meditate on the ideas it presents and celebrate the life and legacy of the personality being honored. Let this book serve as a reminder that even in absence, the impact of a great mind continues to shape our world. Thank you all once again for being part of this solemn event. I want to encourage everyone to share your memories, engage with the work, and most importantly, honor the life and legacy of Professor Yinka Olomojobi of blessed memory. Congratulations to all involved, especially the organizers of this event, Professor Dokas Odnaike and your team, colleagues, faculty and staff, his students, and every other people that may not be mentioned here. Because I believe this project must have taxed your physical, mental, financial, and psychological resources heavily. May your efforts bring desired results. May you be really blessed and greatly honored. And may this book find its rightful place on bookshelves and in hearts around the world. May God, in his infinite mercy, grant us all the grace to see our brother again on the resurrection morning, when the saints of all ages shall meet with our Lord face to face. Thank you very much for your attention, and God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the chairman of the day. Please make him feel welcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We are glad and thankful for your kind words. While he was reading, I moved around and I noticed the presence of a friend of mine who is a faculty in the College of Law, Professor Cheluchi. You're welcome. I'm happy to see you. I've not collected my Happy New Year, but I will see you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a celebration time that we are here to thank God and also to honor the works that have been put together. But shortly before we do that, there are some individuals that I will call forward that will share out of their experience working very closely with Professor Olomojobi. 2 names have been penned down, but without consultation, I will open to accommodate another 2. Provost ma, is that okay? Okay, thank you ma. I will start by calling the name that I have on the program, Abiodun Onitaiwo. Please come forward, sir.
With profound respect to the authorities seated. So I'm going to speak about my personal experience about Professor Yinka Olomojobi of blessed memories. My meeting with Professor Olomojobi, or my experience with Professor Olomojobi, were in 4 phases. The first as an undergraduate in his class, human rights class. The second as a supervisee. The third as a postgraduate student in his class. And the fourth as a friend. So I'm going to start from an undergraduate student. Well, I was just one of the many students in his class. I wasn't very cordial with him as an undergraduate, but I was astounded by his mastery of the subject of human rights, and that ultimately influenced my decision to be or to specialize in international law, public international law. If you look at all my publications, they are all on public international law, human rights especially, and that's because of Professor Olomojobi. I was a mentee from afar, and I wasn't especially close with him at that point because I heard a rumor at that time that he had like an exchange of words with my father. So I was angry at the man that how can this man be shouting in a shouting match with my father? But I later found out, I later asked my dad and he said nothing of such happened. So it was just a rumor, and that phase went by. So the second phase was when I became a postgraduate student, and coincidentally too, I was his colleague. This is a man that doesn't hoard knowledge, and he doesn't claim to be the sole harbinger of academic wisdom. He's a person who is willing to collaborate. All of the young lecturers in the faculty as it is right now, he's willing to publish with you. And as his colleague at that point, I remember Professor Olomojobi would always call me on the phone. I even had to start dodging his calls because I do not understand why a person would believe so much in me than I believe in myself. He would call me, Taiwo, how about our scopus, our schemago? Let's put it in one international journal and publish in the schemago. I'm like, this man, I just started this work. Let me first settle in. I've not even published in a local journal. You're talking about schemago, scopus. But this man pressed on, and I'm not exaggerating. He called me every day. And within the space of 8 months, this man and I, sorry I'm using this man, I don't want to use his name. This man and I completed 5 manuscripts, and we published 3 of them. One in a Scopus journal. I was just 3 months into lecturing at that point, and I already had a Category A journal. So Category A publication, that's something I will applaud him and I will appreciate about him forever. And also, as his colleague, he kept pushing. He kept pushing me. I remember in 2022, this is a solid part I never want to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. In 2022, when I ran into an issue, people would not know. Many people stood up for me in this faculty. But one thing people do not know is Professor Olomojobi, again, and mind you, I wasn't very close to this man as an undergraduate. So I don't understand why we became very close. This man would call me every day to ask me how was I doing, how was I surviving. And this man gave me opportunities, at least a month. He gave me opportunities enough for me to earn at about 150,000 naira, just for me to survive. And this man personally drove me to Olomojobi University to go look for a job. We went to speak to the dean, we went to speak to his friends there to get a job for me in Olomojobi. It was like, there is no way you are too good to just not have a job in the academia. Don't go to practice, it's not for you. Academia is your thing. This man even, he prevailed so much on me to come back here so that we would go see the vice chancellor. But I never just answered the man because I don't know. I don't believe in myself as much as you believe in me. So let me just continue struggling my struggle as I am. And the third one is as a friend. I wouldn't say, or the fourth one is as a friend. I wouldn't say I was the closest person to him. I mean, I have a friend who I met through him, Jessica Oga. I would say she's closer to him than I was. But at the point, Jessica started getting jealous of how close he and I was. She was like, Kai, now me sabi this man first, but I say, you and this man, now don't friends pass me and him. But the thing is, he pushed Jessica and I to lengths. In fact, he even almost arranged a marriage between me and Jessica. I remember one time we were speaking, and it was like, that girl is a beautiful girl. Why don't you see her? Why not get married to her? Why not get, he speaks with, he has this accent. Yeah, so I think a lot of people are misled by his stern visage. He has this ferocious visage. He's always frowning and mostly always frowning. But the man is as Professor Awolo put it in our LinkedIn post yesterday, is a gentle giant. The guy is a softie, serious softie. I've seen the man cry. To see a grown man cry, it's not every day you see a grown man cry, but I've seen the man cry, and I was happy. I won't say I was sad. I was happy to see, because it changed my perspective on the man. And so a lot of people had this misconception about him, but everyone who got close to him knew that he loved students, he loved people. He was not just a mentor, right? He was a collaborator. He was, and people, to put things in perspective, people say he's a prolific researcher, but I don't think you know the extent of which he loved research. Do you know that the last book he wrote, that he launched in Lekki, do you know that that man had started to write another book again? The moment he launched that book, I met him in his office Tuesday the next week, and I said, what are you doing? So I was like, he has started the next book. And I looked at his shelf. He arranged the books he has published, and I was like, you already have these 8 publications, books, not publications, 8 books. Why do you want to write again? It's time for you to sit, relax, and enjoy the fruit of your labor. But he said he was going to publish, that this was the last one. And another thing, all of you, nobody probably knows, is that, do you know that this man had submitted, he had completed his application to become a senior advocate of Nigeria? It was possible that this man would have become a senior advocate, but as God will have it, he probably is a senior, probably will be advocating for us. I don't know. He's not Jesus, but he'll be advocating for us in heaven. And so, this man is a friend, a dear friend to me. As I said, we have published a lot, and we'll keep publishing. As me and my friend Jessica will say, I hope that one day we'll meet again in heaven, and we'll write and publish in the International Journal of Heaven. Thank you.
Distinguished, I'm sure you can actually put your hands together more. These are uncensored feedback. These are feedbacks that are not premeditated. It only will come from a spot, from a place of experience and a close walk. Abiodun Taiwo, we wish you well, even as you continue writing. But ultimately, that final journal that you talked about, I would like to read what you have written there. May I invite Shokwe to Lukeji to come forward. Please make her feel welcome. She is a 400 level student in Babcock.
Thank you. Thank you very much once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to stand before you today and share from a personal perspective my experience with our late Professor Olomojobi. So I just found out I was going to be doing this like just at the start of this program. And so I sent a message to other students that have also been mentored by him to get their perspective. And I just picked these two out to read so we can get a better perspective or opinion about who he was. So the first one says, yes, I passed this course in final year when I wasn't being a good student. I'd skipped classes, turned in my paper late, barely made the exam. He scored me fairly and then separately and personally corrected me. He didn't know it, but I had been struggling with my mental health. His fairness and kindness are still a textbook example of how to treat people professionally and personally. After I told him what the issue was, he supported me as best as he could. He did not conflate personal and professional issues and justify it with being older and me being younger. And the second message here says, this person shared two messages, so here it goes. The second was after I graduated and I was in the United States. I'd been in communication with him very sparsely since I graduated. My friend disclosed to me that she was being harassed by a lecturer in our university who wanted her to sleep with him to get a good grade. And she had evaded him, only for him to make life harder for her with every passing day. I didn't know what to do, and so I texted Prof, asking him if I could call him and when he would be free to talk. He called me, I told him the situation, and he was very quick on his feet. He told me what to do, he told me how she should posture, and asked me to let him put a call through to the lecturer with her permission, and then the problem would be solved. He handled it with enough tact to not make the situation worse, and at the same time to put a stop to whatever was going on with the situation. He didn't even know the person involved, but he would go out of his way to help anyone who really needed it. Now, this is from the perspective of other students. Now, I'm standing here as a person who was not just Professor Olomojobi's student, but also a person who was privileged to, even though just to a little extent, be a part of his researching exploits. I don't think I'll be able to describe how passionate he was about research as Dr. Abiodun Onude has talked about it. As he said, I was aware of when he published his book, and it was published in Lekki, it was presented in Lekki. And then I was supposed to see him like the Thursday after, and I found out I had actually been writing on that. Meanwhile, while he was writing that his book, he was working on something about CC Mass, a new curriculum that was being developed for universities. He was already working on that. He had 3 topics to deal with. Another lecturer that was working on it with them from another university suddenly went MIA and they didn't hear of him anymore, and was going to be the one to take over that person's part too. He was always working. I remember the day I went to his office and I was like, oh, he slept overnight. And like, no, he didn't sleep overnight. He stayed overnight. He was working. What was he working on? He was writing. And then that day he told me, oh, he can go 2 days just doing this. And I'm like, I understand, like, oh, I have to research, this is what I do. But this comes from a place of pure passion. To be able to say you are staying in a place for 2 days just writing, you just finished a book, you're already writing another. And sometimes when you ask him about it, he would explain maybe some generic responses. But really it is mostly out of a pure desire to let people see really what is going on. I know for most of Professor late Prof's textbook, he would go to brothels, go to hotels, because he writes on human rights. So he wants you to see from the perspective of this people. So he's not just writing like, oh, he just goes online and he goes to a website or copies them. He goes to those places. Sometimes he endangers his life. Because he used to tell us about them, like these brothels, everything. Oh, he would tell them, it calls them in focus group discussions and everything. He would gather students. Like, he actually goes to the roots of this matter to understand what's going on, then bring them to you in textbook forms. Now, aside from being a researcher, he was not just doing it for the textbook, just to be acknowledged in that respect, but he was also passionate about human rights. Okay, when I was in 200 level and I was campus director, we had this event where we did a charity visit to a school in Shagam, school for disabled people. Professor Olomojobi was one that followed us. I told him the day before, and he said, no problem, just tell me tomorrow. He went with us. Now, this is the funny part in this. When we got there, they knew him. It was like, oh, like, he's a regular here, like, he comes here regularly to see them. And told me that, oh, normally he goes there to see them and give them things. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, that was who he was. And I remember also this event that Adwa, where she was the ambassador for women's affairs here for talking about women's menstrual health. He was sitting here at this front. He would make sure that students attend anything that has to do with human rights. I also remember his former supervisee, Valerie, Stephanie's sister, when she was having a project, she was looking into women in prisons. He went with her, like, he was not just doing, like, he was someone that was actually knowledgeable about these things. He was not just a theoretical researcher, he was a practical researcher. He went into things deep, he understood them, and he empathized with people that were in those situations. Not only did he empathize with them, but he also sought ways to make things easier for them. And okay, so as not to waste time also, aside him being an human rights activist, him being a lecturer, him being a professor or something, him being a researcher, he was also a lecturer that let you realize that you are in school, like, you're not dumb. The fact that you're not like the others doesn't mean you're not going to be bright or anything. I mean, from the first message I read about our students that was going through mental health issues, he didn't know about it, he called her to, discuss with her and everything. I think that gives us a bit of perspective about it. Now, one final story. When we were going for there was this African human rights competition. It was being held in Ghana. So I went to meet him that we want to go for this competition, and he was very enthusiastic about it. We tried the first time, it didn't work through. The second time, it didn't go through. So it was the third time that it wasn't possible. And then the second time that it was really moving forward, we had to pay for accommodation, travel expenses, and all that. He said, okay, this is it. He said he would have paid for our accommodation expenses, but he's also going to Ghana that before then, so there's a lot of expenses for him. So what will happen is that he would take care of his own accommodation and travel expenses, and also our travel expenses. We should just sort out the accommodation expenses for the competition that we were supposed to go to Ghana for. So when we say that late Prof was a selfless person, we are not just saying it to honor his memory. We are saying it because we've experienced him. He was a person that really empathized with people. He really wanted to know how you're doing. Like, like when he speaks to you, through the softness of his voice, like, you will know that indeed, like, this person wants to hear you and make you be heard. And so, as I round this up again, I hope that although he has left us physically, I hope that he's forever in our hearts. And by these books, he's also able to forever influence the future of human rights in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your most thoughtful experience that you have shared. I'm very sure that if we had asked his students over the years to speak, today wouldn't have been sufficient for us to accommodate all that will be said. And I think it's a clarion call to every other person. Think about what your testimony will look like. Ladies and gentlemen, while the event was going on, we have Chief Kemi Oshude, who also joined us here, a community leader. Ma, thank you very much for your presence. We're glad that you have joined us today. I will take a pause and, like I had mentioned earlier, to open the floor for someone else who may want to come forward beside the names that have been written here. Is there anyone? Are you raising your hand because I called your name? All right, I will call on, okay. Please, ma, you may approach.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oluwakemi Osude Laniyo, a native of Ileshan here. Standing on all the already established protocol, but I cannot fail to slightly establish another one. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the President of Babcock University, our great bosser, our mommy, the wife of the Vice Chancellor, and the mother of my son, Professor Odunaike. She's the mother of my son. I just want to say thank you to God Almighty. Professor Yinka Olomojobi, I first knew his dad, who took me like a daughter, through Professor Agbede. The two of them will go to Mr. Biggs at Shagamu and go and buy chicken and meat pie for me whenever I came to Nigeria. One day I said, why are they doing this? Am I a baby? Is when you go out, you buy things for babies. But they said, they just want to entertain you because you are worthy. And when my son came to Babcock University as a law student, he came home one day, said, Mommy, you remember Professor Agbede? Do you know he's teaching me? And Professor Agbede was my own teacher too. He said, there's another one, Professor Olomojobi. I said, that's the second person I was telling you about. He said, yes. And he said so many things about them. And then I found him under the wings of Professor Yinka Olomojobi. He said he called him and said, your mom is my sister. And as a result, you are my nephew. And he took good care and gave a brilliant guidance to my son. I just want to say something in Yoruba. Iku ogun òun ló ń pa kíkanjú. Iku odò òun ló ń pòmùwẹ̀. Professor Olomojobi did not go down a coward. When I broke the news of his death to my son, I was at a party when I was called and the information was given to me. I screamed so much, the whole party of almost about 2,000 people almost came to a standstill. And I had to go out of the place. The Ogun State governor was there that day. He had to ask somebody to follow me to go and find out what happened to me. Glory be to God Almighty. I had to call my son right away because I didn't want him to hear. I'm very sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want him to hear from another person. The first question my son asked me was, the first thing he said is, I know that man didn't go down quiet. He didn't go down as a coward. He must have challenged those people. And I said, yes. He said, to God be the glory. Because he wouldn't have had so much passion about human rights and will not be able to stand up to his assailants. And he said, if that man had gone down quiet, he would have lost hope in humanity. But he was able to speak his mind to those people that day, gladden his spirit. Professor Olomojobi, my few encounter with him was always about the issue of women and how he can help. I was even inviting him, discussing with him that, look at the terrain of where you are, Ileshan community. I think we're going to start as lawyers, putting some programs together where we can gather people in the town hall and let people be aware of their rights as human beings. The project was on, it was already on discussion. I thank God Barrister Coco is here today with his children. They all know how passionate he was about them all. He was their supervisor. He was the one that was making sure everything was going right. I'll be in my house. He will be calling me to tell me exactly where my son was on campus and what he was doing and who to call. I remember when my son went to England and he couldn't, to the US and couldn't come back when he was meant to come back. He was the one that told me to call Professor Mrs. Odunaike, that's Femi's mother. The Olomojobis that are here. It is well with you all. It is well with you all. He may be gone, but he can never, never be forgotten. He left enough legacy that for generations to come, his name will continue to be on people's lips. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, ma. If you don't live within Elisha, you wouldn't also know the passion by which she does what she believes in. Yes, sir. That will be the second and the last that we will take.
My visit, sir. Other protocols do they have observed. Olomojobi used to call me my man, and I used to call him my man. I was a staff of Babcock University before I left. We met in 2012 through a project that we were to execute in Abuja. That was how we became friends. Olomojobi, may your soul rest in peace. We lost contact for some time, and I just came in briefly this last year to Babcock University to process an admission for the grandson of the Alafin for you. And I asked, I just came down to the Aban campus here to ask of him, from the secretary of the dean of the faculty, the School of Law. And the secretary said I should meet her boss in the office. I got into the office and I asked, please, where is Yinka's office? He said, Yinka is gone. Gone to where? Yinka is dead. I moved out of the office immediately. I went into the car. I wasn't myself. Thank God I wasn't the one driving. Maybe I would have gone because it was a shocker to me. Yinka Olomojobi meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. I had an apartment in the town, but I was sleeping here in the Prof's residence. In the house in Lekki, that is my second house, apart from my residence. Oh my God, may so rest in peace. And for this reason, I've already made a promise that the new Alafin for you must get some copies of this book for the new library is about to construct in the palace. And also where I work now in Alexandria University in the US. My president is also a lawyer. We're going to get some copies. And I will also get some copies for my family because Yinka is someone I can never forget in my life. He played a very important role in my life. Oh my God, may so rest in peace.
Thank you very much for all that we have heard and all that has not been expressed. But we are sure that your presence here is enough testament to all that we are here, gathered here for. Without much ado, I will call on the cord, and immediately after that, we will have Dr. Kinsley, then the vote of thanks before we exit from here. The cord. while they are making their way, permit me to recognize in our midst the Chief of Staff to the President Vice Chancellor, Professor Alao. You're welcome. Thank you very much for being here, sir. We also have Elder Shola Yinka. Sir, you're welcome. We're glad that you're here with us.
It's been, like I said, a solemn event, and it's been one to, reflect and think over, are you really making an impact on the lives of others? And one word we want to drop with us is, no matter how empty we may feel right now, but even as we remember the death of Professor Olomojobi, we might be tempted to question if God really exists, but we want to drop a message as requested by Professor Tunaike, that the events that happened and that may happen in other spheres of our life should remind us that through it all, we should learn to trust in Jesus. They should strengthen our resolve that whatever we may face will depend on God.
Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, I've learned to depend upon His word. I have many tears and sorrows. I have questions for tomorrow. There's been times I didn't know right from wrong, but in every situation, God gave me blessed consolation, that my trials came to only make me strong. Oh yeah. Through it all, yeah, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, I've learned to depend upon His word. Through it all, yes, through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, I've learned to depend upon His word. I've learned to depend upon His word.
Ladies and gentlemen, through it all, regardless of what your experience might be, beyond while we are gathered here, be rest assured that there is a God who will see you through it all. If you agree with that, can you please put your hands together? At this juncture, I will be inviting Dr. Kingsley Onu, the Dean, School of Law at Deleke University, for the next line of action.
Good afternoon, everyone. I beg to stand on existing protocol, and I want to appreciate the editors of this book for a wonderful job that they've done. And I want to appreciate them because when I joined the academia a few years ago, I visited, would I call this place the Mecca or the Jerusalem of academic learning. And then I got introduced to the two of them when they hosted a conference at the guest house at the main campus. And since then, I've been privileged to learn from them and then get encouraged by them. And I'm happy today because I'm not just excited, but I'm fulfilled because they've actually lived up to the expectation of what they preach, which is they always stand by people. And today they've come to stand by our late Professor Yinka Olomojobi. So the book I'm to review this afternoon is titled Human Rights, Intellectual Property, the Environment, and Arbitration, from Nigeria to the Global. Legal essays in honor of the memory of Professor Yinka Olomojobi. And before I continue, it is important that we take a little insight into the honorary, who is Professor Yinka Olomojobi. He is a distinguished professor of law, which we all know. But I had an amazing experience about him before meeting him in person. I was asked to teach gender and the law when I joined the academia. And I said, I'm a public law person. But they told me that I have to teach across the department. And I had to teach gender and the law. So someone introduced me to this textbook on gender and the law. And I read the textbook. It was so amazing. Everything I needed was in the textbook. So I said, anytime I visit Babcock, I'm going to see this woman that is so amazing. Then when I got to Babcock, I was amazed when I got to know that it wasn't a lady, but actually a man. And I was, my God, how can a man be so passionate about gender rights? And then if you read his expose on gender feminism, no, that's so amazing. So Professor Yinka Olomojobi lived his whole life as a human rights activist because it's very difficult to find a he for she, but he was actually a true he for she. And he lived up to this expectation in his writing, in his advocacy. But he didn't stop there. He transversed through the lens of international humanitarian law. He transversed through the lens of religious law and security studies. So if you just take a little peep into Google Scholar, you'll be so amazed at the industry of this young man. He achieved a lot at a very young age. And he's actually a very big motivation to those of us that are just coming up in the academia, because you don't just have an excuse, because you are seeing a very big motivation who exemplifies hard work, commitment, courage, dedication, and mentorship. So, but about the editors, I must commend the editors for a job well done. The editors are Professor Ayoyemi Lawal Arowolo. Please pardon my pronunciation, please. And Professor Dorcas Odunaike. Two of them belong to this school of law, and two of them are renowned law teachers. Being careful not to call them law lecturers because they are actually teachers. They teach not just the students, but they also teach us who are their colleagues. So they are teachers of teachers. And I'm not surprised that they've come up with these amazing picks. And they're going to this work. This book is divided into two parts. Part A of this book is the unpresented inaugural lecture notes of late Professor Yinka Olomojobi, titled The Paradox of Human Rights Law and Its Religious Metaphor in Nigeria. I'm not going to review the inaugural lecture because it stands as an inaugural lecture, but my review will be focused on the part B of the work, which borders on essays in honor of the memory of Professor Yinka Olomojobi, titled Human Rights, Intellectual Property, the Environment, Arbitration, from Nigeria to the Global. This book is divided into 5 major parts, and like I said before, was edited by Professor Arowolo and Professor Odunaike. The first part of this book, which I call Section A, borders on human rights issues, exploring racial discrimination, abuse of women's rights, and pension schemes, and the right of elderly citizens. This particular chapter is in line with the research focus of late Professor Yinka Olomojobi, and this particular section of the work dealt with 3 major topics of great concern to us. The first is the issue of racial discrimination in Africa, and it focused on colorization issue happening in current-day Tunisia. And then it looked at the issue of discrimination against darker-skinned persons in Tunisia. And it actually goes to show that the issue of discrimination is deeply rooted in Africa. Africa is currently undermined with a lot of security issues. But part of the issues that we are being confronted with in Africa is the issue of discrimination. And the paper proposed that cultural relativism and inclusivity should be an approach in resolving these disputes in Africa. And I think it's a worth reading piece. So I encourage you to pick up this book and look at this masterpiece. Another interesting piece in this section is domestic violence and women's rights. It espoused the issue of domestic violence in Nigeria, and it actually examined the existing legal frameworks going from VAP Act of 2015, the 1999 Constitution, particularly the fundamental human rights provisions, and it also considered international treaties like the CEDAW Convention and the Maputo Protocol. And it came up with this resolution that Nigeria must work hard in enforcing existing legal frameworks. The issue with domestic violence and human rights in Nigeria is not the issue of lack of existing legal framework, but the issue of lack of enforcement of existing legal framework. So this paper encourages the policymakers and, of course, law enforcement agents to work hard in the area of enforcing the existing legal framework. And it's also a masterpiece that anyone who is interested in gender rights should look out for in this amazing book. Then another piece in this first section is labor stigmatization of women in Igbo land. It actually examined the idea of some labor or trade being classified as the domain of men, where women are not expected to venture into. And I'm sure that these are the kind of things that will stimulate the interest of late Professor Yinka Olomojobi. And this piece examined this concept, appraising existing laws, and particularly the case of Mojeku versus Mojeku and Ukeje versus Ukeje, in coming up with a proposition that there should be a paradigm shift in the East, because we have existing legal frameworks, but we need reorientation among people in order to create this balance in our society. So it's another piece that I will encourage you to look out for in this masterpiece before us this afternoon. And another important aspect of this section is the part that dealt with right of the elderly and pension schemes. In fact, I find this particular paper very interesting because my mother is a pensioner, and she has been a pensioner for like 5 years now, and every year she keeps planning on what she will do with her gratuity. And for 5 years now, the gratuity has not been paid, and I'm sure she's not the only one in this circle. Some of us who have parents that finish from public service are facing this kind of dilemma. And every day they are called for capturing, recapturing, and the rest of them. This paper examined this issue of multi-approaches of having the government pay pension directly to people upon finishing their service, and also the approach of contributory pension scheme. And the paper examined approaches of other developed countries and came up with an amazing resolution or recommendation on how to address this particular issue in Nigeria. I would have told you the recommendation, but I expect that when you pick up the copy of this book, you will find the recommendation. The second part of this book, or the second section, deals with traditional knowledge, traditional medicine, cultural practices, and intellectual property rights in Africa and beyond. The first paper under this particular session dealt with intellectual property rights and traditional knowledge systems. Then the key focus of this particular paper was the examination of traditional knowledge system in Africa and Australia. And the paper made a very important finding, which is the lack of existing legal framework that promotes the use of traditional knowledge system, especially in the area of them being recognized as having IP rights. And then it advocated for a legal pluralism system that will accommodate the traditional knowledge system and, of course, the existing intellectual property rights as we have them. The next paper deals with traditional medicine knowledge. Traditional medicine knowledge. A lot of us here are so skeptical about taking Agbo and some of the other indigenous medicine because we see them as being harmful. But this paradox is actually rooted in our looking down on anything called local or traditional, forgetting the fact that Orthodox medicine developed and still have its roots from traditional medicine knowledge. So this paper called for the recognition of IP rights in the area of traditional medicine, and of course a synergy between the institutional framework and the agencies in charge in this respect. And the third part of this particular section deals with recognition of traditional medicine knowledge. And then it drew lessons from the role that WIPO as an institution has to play, and of course the new Treaty on Genetic Resources and Related Traditional Knowledge. And it made a valid recommendation for domestication and enforcement of this treaty at national level. Those of us who are in the medical profession would find this particular piece an amazing one, because it deals a lot with traditional medicine knowledge. Then the next paper dealt with traditional knowledge-based technology. Some of us have traditional knowledge-based technologies from where we are coming from. Some have the act of making iron steels. And also, during the Civil War, we saw the ingenuity of people who were in distress coming up with some indigenous weapons, which were not orthodox in nature, but were very, very much potent. But there are no laws that actually created IP rights that covered this indigenous knowledge. So this paper dealt with issues like this and then came up with a very, very important recommendation, which, of course, I would have told you, but I want you to pick a copy of the book and find the recommendation for yourself. Then, another interesting part of this particular paper, which I will want you to explore, is the issue of intellectual property taxation. Can intellectual properties be taxed? Are there laws that regulate the taxation of intellectual properties? This is a very striking issue. And I'm very sure that most of us seated here wants to know the answer. I would have told you the answer, of course, but when you get your own copy, you will find the answer. All right. Then we'll move over to the third section of this book. The third section of this book deals with arbitration from customary law to artificial intelligence and international commercial dispute resolutions. The first paper addressed customary arbitration and the nature and characteristics of customary arbitration, validity of customary arbitration, and judicial challenges in the enforcement of customary arbitration were addressed in this particular paper. Another paper which I personally find to be very, very interesting is the paper that dealt with the issue of decolonization and international commercial arbitration. Most times, people who are involved in international commercial arbitration face the challenge of seat of arbitration, venue of arbitration, which one should supersede, which law should apply. And then this particular paper came up with the idea of the localization of this particular principle. I would have told you much about the recommendation, but when you pick up your own piece, you will be able to find out. But it's a must read. Please take note of this particular paper. It's an interesting one. Then there is another paper on artificial intelligence and arbitration. It focused on the fact that in China, artificial intelligence have been embedded into their system of arbitration, and it has helped to fasten the process of arbitration in China. However, there is no legal framework that regulates this introduction of AI into arbitration in China, and it calls for recommendation on how there could be a legal framework that regulates this particular aspect. The first section of this book, which is the second to the last, deals with environmental matters, customary practices, and indigenous knowledge. The first paper here dealt with indigenous knowledge system and practices, and then how indigenous system knowledge and practices can aid in our quest to reduce our carbon footprint by encouraging biodiversity through indigenous knowledge system. I, for one, come from a community called Ishagu in Ebonyi State. And one unique thing about my community is that they believe that the green snake happens to be their forefather. So they don't kill green snake in our community. And I thought that green snake was very lazy because it enters our houses anyhow. Until I went for secondary school in another community, I discovered that green snakes can run fast. But in my community, they feel relaxed. They were in charge. Another thing, and by so doing, my community had indirectly preserved green snakes. Then in my community too, they also believe that the tiger is their forefather. So they don't kill tigers in our community. So, and they said that anyone from our community cannot be killed by a tiger as well. So anywhere I see a tiger, I will just hail the tiger and call the tiger Agona, and the tiger will mellow down because it's supposed to be our forefather. Don't ask me to try and experiment that in your zoo if you have one. Okay, but we have this approach and it has helped to conserve wildlife in my community. Come to Oshobo, very close to my school. We visited the Oshun Shrine in Oshobo, and then we find out that fishes can play and fishes can come and be moping at you. Why? They don't kill the fishes in the river because they believe that those fishes are the goddess of the river. And you will see fine fishes looking at you, and you look back at them and you just wave at them. But in this approach, these fishes are being conserved in this particular river. So this knowledge system helps in biodiversity conservation. Then we also have customary practices that enables communal land protection and environmental protection. We have some areas that have been declared evil forests in our areas, and these areas have been conserved because of customary practices, which in themselves are not environmentally inclined, but have helped to protect the environment. So if you read this paper, you will find a lot about this synergy. And then the last paper in this session has to do with municipal waste management in Nigeria. We battle with a lot of waste in our cities. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you will see waste littered all over the main road. People dump their waste at night. But the new one I discovered is that they wait until when it's about to rain. As soon as it starts raining, all the waste come out. And this paper shows that we have a very robust legal framework that regulates issue of solid waste. And then this paper also dives into the new issues such as circular economy, which is being introduced by our NDC under the Paris Agreement. And I think that it will be a worth read if you pick up this particular paper. And then finally, on this, under the section 5 of this part 2 is the decolonizing legal education in Africa. This paper calls for a sustained and collaborative effort to decolonize legal education in the African continent. That's why one songwriter said that we must emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. And this is very, very important because most times we come to find out that some of the things we practice here are actually outdated. No wonder a few days ago in Burkina Faso, they abolished the use of wig and gown in their courts because they said it's part of the colonial antiquity that have even been relegated to the graves of medieval years, because even in these courts, they most times do not even use some of these things. And we need to come up with theories when we teach our students, theories that are local I was in UI one day, somebody was presenting on customary law, and then the professor said, you did not use any legal theory. I can't find natural law. I can't find positivist school. I can't find historical school of jurisprudence. No legal theory. And we forget that people like Orumila came up with theories that are still valid and were even quoted by men like Socrates and the rest of them. So please, our ideas are not inferior. Local ideas are potent because they have helped our forefathers to survive. And if we must move on with our legal system, we must decolonize our legal education to inculcate our customary ideas. And then this paper covers this book covers a whole lot. Gender law, intellectual property, environmental law, arbitration, human rights, labor, ICT law, customary law. So any of these areas that interest you, you have something to feed on in this masterpiece. So I must commend the editors for a job well done. You need to feel the print of the work. You need to feel not just the quality of the paper, but also the quality of the content of this book. But before I hand over the microphone to the chairman of the occasion for the unveiling of the books, I must also just make a few comments on the inaugural lecture, which I feel is so endearing to my heart. The inaugural lecture was able to address this recondite issue of human rights and religion. Nigeria is a nation that is highly pluralized in the area of religion. And if we must address some of our recurring issues as a nation, we must always address this issue of religion and human rights. He was able to look at it from Christian perspective. He also looked at it from Islamic perspective. He also incorporated theories of law in coming up with this masterpiece. So I want to say a very big thank you to late Professor Yinka Olomojobi for yielding himself to legal research and scholarship. And like we know, late Professor Yinka is an old soldier in the legal profession. And like the saying goes, old soldiers never die. He only transited. And he lives on, and his voice echoes through the corridors of scholarly posterity. So we say a very big thank you. And we also tell Professor Yinka, let's write a paper. Maybe this time around, it will find its way to Simago standard, or, of course, get into Scopus. Thank you very much for paying a rapt attention. Then I call on the chairman of the occasion to lead the people on this side of the divide for the unveiling of the book. So with a round of applause and a standing ovation, please may we rise to this occasion.
I think this is the high point of the gathering today, to unveil the masterpiece. So I want to invite everyone on the high table to come here as we do this exercise together. Okay. Okay. What? Who's going to? Is that okay? Can we from the? Okay, all right, okay. We will unfold it from the back and throw it down. All right? So we'll do it gently. Okay. Okay. So, we'll just pick one copy. One copy. Okay.
Consistent and shape, yes.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, sir. Okay, I think we can move on. Okay, we can move. All right. I think we can file on a straight line. Emabo. All right. Yes, okay.
And the lead editor. And the lead editor.
Thank you very much. Please, you may be seated. Our time is fast spent, and I'm aware that many of us have to travel back to as far as Ilishon town, and some are going back to Shagamu. So have to keep to time so that we can leave here early. Is anybody going further? Okay. God will take you safely. The books are available, and the account number will be displayed for those who are online. I'm grateful that you found time to be with us online, and so that account number will be displayed and will be verbally displayed for those who are here. so that once you make payment, the school will link up with you on how that copy will get across to you. But for those of us who are here, the ushers will go around to you, and if you wish to make a transfer, the account to make the transfer is 0120315459. I will take it again. 0120315459. And that is Wema Bank. And it is the School of Law and Security Studies. Thank you very much for complying with us, and our ushers will move around and meet up with you. The chairman will give further instructions.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we all know the quality of what is in our hands. It's a hardcover book, and of course, I'm happy with the eminent partners here, and we, being administrators in our own right, we know we can easily put the value of producing this copy, and I'm sure when you look at it, it will help us to make the necessary support to offset the cost of the book. So we are here now at this point to coordinate the financial support to that. That's a indirect way of saying we are launching it, right? So the ushers will go around, and if there is anyone who feels like coming to make a pronouncement, we will gladly support it. If there's anyone who wants to make a comment, we are really working on a tight time schedule, so I can round it up quickly.
Well, in the interest of time, good enough, the chairman of the occasion is the bossa, so he's holding the key to the coffers of the university. And I know he will always push it to me that unless I do the approval, I cannot disburse. So both of us, we confer, and then by God's grace, we do something that is very tangible. Yeah. Because if you look at our ranking, it's impacted positively even till today because of the publications of Professor Yinka Olomojobi. Now, on my own, as a family, our first daughter happens to be a student of Professor Yinka Olomojobi, and he talks glowingly about his intelligence, and interestingly, maybe that's why she also ventured into gender and international law. Interestingly, her PhD dissertation revolved around gender law. So by God's grace, we will also as a family contribute towards the production of the book. But permit me not to mention that as a humble worker, so that the EFCC, or I may give some, I may pronounce an amount which people that want to donate billions and millions here, we want to go below what the VC want to say. So please, we want to encourage people to give generously, and the Lord will bless you abundantly.
Thank you very much, sir. And I will also consult with my wife. And incidentally, we also have a daughter who graduated from this place and even did a PhD in law. So we are so happy for the great work that has been done on this campus, especially at Ikperu campus here. So, towing the line of my boss, we are prohibited from making pronouncements by the issue of corporate governance. But by God's grace, the family will also support adequately. Yeah, like I said earlier on, you know that the quality of the book and the print is not a small one. It's a hardcover, and we expect that the minimum cost for bringing this out cannot be less than between 22 to 20. So we can put a peg of 25,000 on it for the kind of thing there. And when you look at the content, it's really, it's a heavy one because it covers so many areas of law, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very useful. It can also help us. I'm sure some of our children may also come to this profession of law, and it will be really very handy. So we expect that we'll be able to meet minimum cost of about 25,000 to really offset the cost. Thank you very much.
I want to believe that your inability to clap is because you're making transfers, but that's okay. Thank you very much. Those who have clapped are possibly those who have finished transferring. So, but should you maybe along the line you transferred 25 and you felt you are very sure the VC would have done more. There's no crime in you doubling what you have done or even go triple. The VC will not say anything to that. While that is going on, in order for us to be able to utilize our time appropriately.
Just for clarity, it's important we know the account name. Because if you miss a digit there, it's likely to bring out a name. Yeah, you may mistakenly go and pay into maybe my account. So it's important to know that the account name is School of Law and Security Studies. So when you are trying to do the transfer, let's carefully look at it very well for the name that we give out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's the university bossa. He will ensure that every kobo moves in the right direction. But should you transfer to his account, it is also in good faith. But it will be unaccounted. So before you collect it back, you will pay double because they will charge him for sending it back to you. So prepare for that. I will be inviting Professor Sisinwosu, the Associate Vice President, Institutional Effectiveness, for a presentation to while she's making her way forward, I noticed some people who walked in. So I will recite the account number again. 0120315459. 0120315459. Wema Bank, School of Law and Security Studies. But if you mistakenly see Dr. Folorunsho Akonde, go ahead. and transfer. And transfer. Professor Sisi is here.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience as this program has continued. Mr. V.C. Salemi, adopt the already existing protocol to save time. At Babcock University, we admire, appreciate excellence and professionalism. So every year, we conduct what we call Teacher of the Year Award and Staff of the Year Award across the schools. People emerge and they are given recognition. In 2024, Professor Yinka Olomojobi was one of the persons that was nominated from the School of Law and from the School of Law and Security Studies. And so I have a plaque here from the School of Law and Security Studies for his family to collect on his behalf. So I'm going to invite the VC and the Senior Vice President Academics to please come with me while we present this to the family, and I would like to invite his wife to come.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for them. We're indeed very grateful to everyone who is here and has deemed it fit to sit to this moment. I will be inviting, on behalf of the family of late Professor Yinka Olomojobi, for the vote of thanks, Dr. Omotara Olomojobi, who will be coming forward for the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, family, and friends. My name is Dr. Omotara Olomojobi. On behalf of Professor Yinka Olomojobi's family, I want to express our deepest gratitude for your presence here today at this very special occasion, which is the posthumous launch of my father's inaugural lecture, compiled as a book with other legal essays. This moment is bittersweet for all of us. My father, Professor Yinka Olomojobi, wasn't only a man of immense intellect and wisdom, but he was also someone who poured his whole heart into everybody he wrote. This book is a testament to his passion, his purpose, and his unwavering commitment to leaving a legacy that inspires others. When I was coming here today, I told myself that today is not a day of tears, but a day of celebration in honor of his life. First and foremost, I want to thank the Almighty God for giving us the strength to celebrate my dad's life and work today. Despite the pain of his absence, we are reminded of his grace in seeing the fulfillment of my father's dreams. To our family, our friends, and loved ones,